Awesome. So you're from Ridgewood originally, correct? New
Yeah,
Jersey?
Ridgewood, New Jersey. Yep.
Very
Uh-huh.
nice.
I lived there from birth until, you know, I went off to college, basically.
It's 18
Hmm.
years,
Yep, 18 years.
roughly. Yeah.
Yeah.
What were some of your favorite kind of things to do when you were growing up there?
Um, I think it's like the kind of thing where, like, while I was living there, I wanted to not be there, um, and didn't appreciate the cool things that I did have access to. Um, but I think, like, in retrospect, I took for granted, that it was like this amazing thing that me and my friends grew up, in a town that was small, but was only half an hour by train away from New York City. So we had access to that kind of cool stuff, and that was like huge in terms of music because like we could go see shows and stuff like that. Obviously, like of a lot of the shows we wanted to see in the city when we were kids, like were 21 plus. So that was kind of a point of resentment. But at least there were, occasionally there were other shows that we could get into that were all ages. And then there were shows in like places like Hoboken, New Jersey. I don't know if you're familiar with that place. That's like,
Yeah, I've heard of it. Yeah.
yeah, it's like there's, back in like the 80s and early 90s, there was like a decent amount of like music stuff happening in that part of New Jersey, like Yo La Tengo and stuff like that. So I guess they probably still live in the area, I'm assuming. So we go see Yo La Tengo, and we see like other shows at this place called Maxwell's in Hoboken. Um, but yeah, I mean, like that was, I think by high school, like most of the stuff I was interested in doing revolved around music, really. Um, there wasn't a whole lot else that really caught my interest at the time. And had a very like focused view on just like, wanting to play music and go see shows and stuff like that.
Yeah. What were some of your earliest shows that you were attending?
Um, I saw, when I was in like eighth grade, I went to, there's like, they probably still do this. There's like a series in the summer in Central Park, like of outdoor concerts. And I saw like Ben Folds 5 there in eighth grade. And I saw Sonic Youth there a couple of years after that, which was really awesome. Um, I saw, let's see, I saw Weezer when I was in ninth grade. Um,
Sweet.
yeah, totally. Yeah, that was actually something that me and Bleecker and Martin were just talking to those students about that I was telling you about.
Yeah.
Was like, we were like very deep into Weezer at that age, like middle school to like early high school. And then probably through the kind of the things that I was just talking about, the fact that so many shows in the city were 21 plus. Um, just through like finding shows that were all ages, I got into like punk music because those shows happened a lot more locally to me. Places like there's a town called Wayne, New Jersey, and there was a venue there that we would go to called Wayne Firehouse. And those were all ages shows. They had like a lot of punk shows there. Um, and Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think what other like early formative concert experiences there were.
I mean,
Um,
that's good that there was places that you could go that was relatively close to you to go see music
mhm.
that was all ages. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
that's so
absolutely.
important
Hmm.
to to have in any music community at all. It's like, okay, like any kid can come here. It's kind of like because you're East Coast,
Yeah.
and it seems like Minor Threat was really a huge
Hmm. Yeah.
push forward in that, and then obviously like Fugazi later on
Yep. That's
in
all
that.
stuff that I got extremely deep into in high school too. Is like, um, yeah, like the whole like Discord '80s like DC scene. I ended up going to college in DC, um, and like only got into that music even more there. Um, yeah, and then once I was in college, there's like a whole lot of like cool music that was happening that like completely blew my mind. It was totally different than what I was listening to in high school. Um, I would see shows like Black Dice was really active then, so I saw Black Dice play a bunch of times. The like very earliest uh, incarnations of Animal Collective were really mind blowing. There's a band called Acceptor that I think still exists, that I would go see, and just like stuff that was a lot more experimental than what I had been exposed to in New Jersey, and all of that like was just mind blowing, really, really inspiring to me. And then of course, like, you know, in DC, there was still like sort of the aftershock of like Discord, like post-hardcore stuff. So there's a lot of that kind of like, you know, like going to like post-hardcore and like heavier shows at like houses and stuff like that. Yeah,
Right. Yeah. I mean, a lot of new experiences being thrown at you, right?
definitely. Yeah.
Do you have any siblings?
Yeah, I have one older brother.
Did he play a part in formulating your music taste at all?
Nah, not really. Yeah, he's kind of into his own thing. Maybe like early. I mean, I think like in middle school, in like elementary and middle school, like the first like rap records I heard were through him, like and like, you know, stuff like Led Zeppelin and stuff like that. Pink Floyd, he introduced me to that kind of stuff. But I think, you know, once I developed kind of tastes of my own, we sort of diverged in terms of the music we were listening to a little bit.
Right.
But I have to credit him, you know, with like any like early 90s East Coast hip hop that I was exposed to, all was because of him and his friends, and a lot of classic rock.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's like, okay, yeah, hip hop and the modern hip hop, but also, you know, there's these guys called Pink Floyd. You should definitely check them out.
Totally. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's such a an opposite ends of a spectrum. But I mean, that's
Yeah.
neat
But
though.
that's like standard, like you know, adolescent in New Jersey listening from that era, I would say, is like,
Yeah,
you know,
it's like whatever what Run DMC and then to the Wall. Listen to
yeah. I mean,
that.
it was also like, you know, that at the time, like it's crazy to think about because like not many people care about what's on the radio now, but at the time, like radio, when I was in middle school, like radio still had an impact in terms of what people listen to. So there's like only so many options. There's like maybe there's two like good rap stations at the time. There's one the really famous rap station at the time, and then there's like one big classic rock station, one alternative rock station, like a big pop station, and then a smattering of other things. But you know, you got into stuff through that,
Yeah.
which is weird to think about that now.
Yeah, it is really interesting to think about that. I don't think that anybody turns on the radio in their car at all. Or at least to a
I
station, you
I
know.
actually, well, I'm old, so I still do that, but I like
Okay, good. That's
I
good.
basically just leave it on. Like I have like public radio on. I tune it, you know, if I don't want to like listen to music from my phone or something, I'll like tune into the public radio while I'm driving around. But that's pretty much it. I guess actually, no, I take it back. There's a college station here that plays some decent stuff, and there's like another local station in Madison that plays some weirdo stuff depending on the hour of the day. So I'll tune into that every now and again.
That's not bad. Yeah.
Yeah,
If there's something that's kind of playing something that you wouldn't find regularly
yeah,
on a radio, I'd be more inclined to listen to that than whatever, you know.
right, yeah, yeah,
My the stations that I get down here, but usually if I turn on the radio, it's just AM radio.
yeah,
So I'm just
yeah,
like listening to like traffic updates and
right,
whatever else, you
totally,
know,
yeah, yeah.
which I like that more than the music that they play, which is, I mean, good for I don't know who's listening to it though, because it's like I believe it's newer music, and it's
Yeah,
like, okay, but what is your target audience? Like, what
it's
is the age demographic that you're shooting for? Because
it's a
whoever
very
listens to
strange
this,
niche. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
really weird.
I don't know who's fitting that, you know, to, the age bracket, but
Yeah,
good for them. I don't know how they're still in business, but yeah.
yeah, and it doesn't seem to like it doesn't align. I don't think like if you tune into like pop radio stations right now, it doesn't seem to align with like the like Spotify top lists or anything.
No, it
It seems
doesn't.
like it
So
is totally divergent things.
yeah, where is this coming from? Who's saying that the Spotify is the whatever the top 50 or top indie
Yeah,
playlists, and then these people don't get any airplay?
right.
It's I don't know. I mean,
Yeah,
it's such an odd algorithm or whatever it is that it's
right.
relying on.
Yeah. Hmm.
Very, very interesting. But
Yeah.
so did you go directly from New Jersey to Washington, DC for
Yeah.
school?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I actually, well, so I went to high school actually on the other side of the border on the New York side. Um, but you know, from there, then I went off to DC.
Hmm. All
Yeah.
right. So you made that jump, and so you were again 18 at the time.
Yeah, I was 18.
So then when did you make the switch? Because you went to school in Madison, correct?
I went to grad school here. So
Ah,
I finished college and then I worked in DC for a little while, and then I started a grad program here and was in that for a really long time until the end of 2019. I finished up my PhD here in Madison.
so not that
And
long at all.
yeah, right, yeah. I moved here in 2008, so it was over 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I got 2 master's degrees and a joint PhD along the way. Spent a good amount of time in India, and you know, uh, met someone that I ended up marrying that's from Wisconsin, and so uh, now.
In India,
No,
or
no, no, no. Here in Madison, yeah,
that would have been even crazier. You're like, what?
yeah,
I go to school there.
right, yeah, yeah. That would be funny.
Yeah. So you moved to Wisconsin, and what were you doing in India? Why were you located out there?
I was doing research for my PhD dissertation in Mumbai.
Okay. And so
Yeah.
so so what did that entail? What exactly were you doing out there?
So I did a few long trips between 2012 and 2017. I was doing field research. So I studied anthropology and ethnomusicology, and the research methods for those. I don't know if you ever if you're familiar with those subjects at all,
Well,
but
I looked it up because I knew that those were your your
oh yeah,
your
yeah, yeah,
majors. Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, so
But I'm still not super let's just say I don't have a PhD in these subjects. Okay. So
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
very bare bones. All right.
Not to worry, not to worry. Yeah. So the research methods for both of those subjects more or less kind of rely on like extended periods of field research, doing what's called participant observation research. Um, and so that's what brought me to Mumbai. I was studying stuff that had to do with music and sound in Mumbai, and my research process kind of involved a lot of things, from interviewing people um, that are basically anti-noise pollution activists to playing music with people that play in like processional bands that play during religious festivals. Um, so yeah, I was there for quite a while, and it actually kind of spilled over even into like the time after I joined real estate, because I joined real estate in 2016, and basically like I played like 3 or 4 shows with real estate, um, and then I went back to India for a really long time. So they actually did a tour without me with a guy named Doug as like a substitute guitar player for, I don't really know how long of a tour it was, um, but yeah, they had to get someone to fill in for me because I told them up front, like I still want to finish my PhD and finish up my research, and they were cool about that.
You said, hey, this is cool. I like playing with you guys, but I also like playing with these other people in India. I got this other thing going on. So
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, that is really cool though. So how much of a difference was it? I mean, I'm assuming it's a huge difference from, I mean, New Jersey or even Washington or Madison going to, you said Mumbai, right?
Yeah,
Wow.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very unique place. Even like within India, I would say for people that have like traveled to Indian cities, like, if you know like Delhi really well, like going to Mumbai is like shockingly different in a lot of ways. Um, but yeah, it's an exciting place. It's like uh, you know, um, extremely different than all those places than New Jersey or DC. But in ways that that sometimes in the moment are like frustrating, and then like in retrospect are things that like you really miss and you want to go back and spend more time there. It's been a few years since I've been back, and like I miss it. I miss the people that I was friends with there, and miss keeping up with their lives in person, and miss my usual routine and the stuff that I would do there, the things I would eat. It's a cool place. I'd love
Yeah.
to go back sometime soon.
So what made you interested in these two subjects? I hopefully I'm saying this correctly. The ethnomusicology, correct?
Yeah, you got it. Yep.
And the anthropology. What made you interested in studying this?
So I studied anthropology as an undergrad, and I think the reason I did was, uh, like my freshman year, I took all my whatever they're called, like general prerequisite requirements for college, like
The
liberal
gen
arts.
eds, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And wasn't really convinced that I wanted to study anything in particular. But after taking like a few anthropology classes, I was like, I kind of realized like, oh, if I study anthropology, I can actually still learn about um, lots of other like humanistic subjects that I was interested in. You can be an anthropology major, but still like take classes and write papers that ostensibly have to do with art or music or philosophy. Um, and I liked that, and it sort of it it worked nicely with like some of the electives that I wanted to take, and like mostly in like music and art history and stuff like that. Um, so yeah, I kind of I really appreciated that about it. I didn't know yet at that point that I would want to go to grad school, or that I would want to focus on music specifically. Uh, as an academic subject. But then I graduated from college and spent some time, like got a few like crappy jobs. Spent some time like serving coffee at Starbucks and stuff like that. Um, and then I got a job at Smithsonian Folkways Recordings, which are you familiar with that label at all?
I've heard the name, but
Yeah,
I couldn't tell you much more about that than
it's
what I just told you.
it's an amazing thing. It's like a record label that is part of the Smithsonian Institution. Um,
This is in
and
DC, I'm assuming. Yes.
it's in DC. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's like, have you ever been to DC?
No, I've never been to DC.
Oh, okay, it's
Ian
like,
Mackay won't let me go in there, so
yeah,
it's a whole issue. Yeah.
yeah. It's like, as far as I know, I think probably the office is still in the same place, but it's like on the National Mall where all the like other Smithsonian museums are, and like
Right.
you got the Capitol at one end, you got the Lincoln Memorial at the other end, so it's like right in the middle of all that stuff. Um, and it's a record label that's largely focuses on like both American folk music, but also in the more recent decades, increasingly like world music, or whatever you want to call that, um, particularly like international like folk musics and stuff like that. But I got a job there, and that was like kind of the first time I met ethnomusicologists and talked to them, and of course was like exposed to a lot of cool music working there. I didn't do anything like fancy there. I just worked. I was like the mail order guy, so people would place orders for records, and I'd pack them up and ship them out. But the cool thing about that was that, well, actually there was a number of cool things about that. First of all, it was just like cool working in that setting. I met a lot of really cool people that worked there. I got to listen to anything in their catalog while I worked. The catalog is like something like 10,000 albums. It's just like an enormous catalog.
Really narrow to choose from, not slim pickings
Yeah,
over there, right?
yeah, right, yeah. It was amazing. It was like, it's crazy because basically it's like that label started as like a private label in the 40s, and then was acquired by the Smithsonian, and then kind of acquired all these other smaller labels. So it just like grew to have this massive catalog. So I listened to so much shit that way. And then like part of my job was also like I got to talk to artists on the phone, hear a little bit about their story, and it was just it was a moving experience, and inspired me to apply to grad school and to apply to ethnomusicology programs. So I
Wow.
did that, and ended up going to University of Wisconsin.
Was there ever a song or an artist that you found while just kind of putting stuff on while working there that you cannot find at all anymore?
No, and that's the cool thing about this label, is that they keep everything in print on demand. I don't really know what the deal is now. It was it was obviously a few years ago that I worked there. It was like over a decade ago. At the time, people were still interested in ordering CDs, but any CD you would want they would press on demand of any of their 10,000 or whatever records. Now it's probably the kind of thing where just like everything is available. I'm sure everything is available digitally, and you can get like, I think even then you could get all the liner notes as free PDFs on their website if you wanted to just read through some liner notes. So so yeah, that's the cool thing about it, is that there was nothing in their catalog that was hard to find. I guess theoretically, if you're looking for original pressings, they're all pretty hard to find.
Well, then nobody's interested if you can't find them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But if you just want to listen to the music, like it's all there for you to listen to.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Very sick. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so that really sparked a huge just resurgence of appreciation for music in general. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Definitely.
And you were playing music in your own time on the guitar or what?
Yeah.
Cello and stuff.
Yeah, I was playing. Yeah, so like college, I didn't really play that many shows. I played shows every now and again, but I was recording a lot. I was getting kind of more familiar with like how to record in my bedroom, basically. Make kind of like lo-fi recordings that no one really heard except for myself.
It's the best audience.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that kind of ramped up a lot more like after I started grad school, actually. So I moved to Madison in 2008, started grad school, and when I got here, I basically, like moved to a new city. I didn't know anybody, so outside of my classes, I had free time that I wasn't using really to socialize. So I was just like spending tons of time recording, and yeah, I'm trying to think how much I record. I started doing like a self-released like CDR series, and did maybe like 4 releases that way, and then a label offered to put out my first record on vinyl, and
while in school. This is while you were attending?
Yeah, while I was in grad school. So that was 2009. I put out my first album called Aren't You Glad? That came out 2009. 2010, I put out another record with that same label called Mare, and did some EPs with my friend started a label around the same time called Underwater Peoples, which is now the label that I work with primarily. So yeah, it was just like a lot of things coinciding, like having the free time to start recording a bunch of music, having my friends start a label and offering to put out my music. There's also like the same time that like blogs kind of became a thing, like music blogs.
Yeah, you said 2008 ish.
Yeah, 2008, 2009. Yeah,
that's
so
it.
Like,
that's when it started to really jump off, huh?
Oh yeah, it was right in like that sweet spot where like for some reason these blogs were like willing to write about complete nobodies, and so I got people hearing my music and like ordering my CDRs just from reading about it on a blog, which was really cool.
That is really cool. Now, the other label that you mentioned before, not Invisible Peoples, I believe is what it's
Underwater
called, right?
Peoples.
Underwater Peoples.
Yeah.
The one, we got to start this whole thing over, by the way, so just get ready. Can't have any missteps. No, the other one that you said that released your first CD.
Yeah,
a Wisconsin-based label?
No, it's Brooklyn-based, called Old English Spelling Bee. Yeah, both of these labels are Brooklyn-based.
So just you weren't doing shit. I mean, you were going to school kind of, and you were putting out.
I was going to school, not kind of. I was going to school full time.
So nothing. I mean,
I just wasn't
going to school and releasing music. I mean, what were you really doing?
Yeah.
No, that's really insane. So this is after your schooling in. This is your master's, right? So how old are you right around this time?
Like 22. 22, I guess.
It's old.
Very old, and I'm somehow even older now.
That's insane.
It won't stop. The aging process.
Yeah, that's a lot to accomplish, though. You got a lot of stuff on your plate.
Yeah, no, but it was like, it felt very natural because, like I said, that first year I wasn't making that many friends. I was like, just like really into just recording a shitload.
Oh, you were just making an album, making things, creating things. Man, that must have sucked, dude. But after India, you went right back to Wisconsin and you finished up schooling? Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. I think it was like, it was about 2 years that it took for me to write up my dissertation, which I did by that point. So I basically, after my last long trip to India, touring really started taking off with real estate. And so I was like spending a lot of time on the road. And then whenever I'd be back in Wisconsin, I would just spend all my time in the library writing up my dissertation, and got that done from like, I guess like summer 2017 until like winter 2019.
What was it on? What was the topic that you focused on?
So it was on what some people would call noise pollution in Indian cities, in Mumbai in particular. But all of the stuff that these people point to as being noise and being a nuisance largely has to do with the sound of music during religious festivals. So it's really about kind of the conflict between different communities in Mumbai over loud sound happening in public spaces. A lot of times tension that was kind of mirrored along lines of religious community. And there's sort of a long history of that stuff, of people getting upset with other communities in Indian cities, especially in Mumbai, over loud sounds in the street.
It's very interesting. Now, did you have any did you know any of this prior to going to India and talking to people? Oh, okay, so this is something that you kind of knew about. You had a semblance of this is happening here.
Yeah, I wrote my master's thesis on like kind of a related subject, and actually did like a trip to Delhi to do research in like the National Archives of India, like archival research for that stuff. So I had kind of a basis, or like basic knowledge of this kind of stuff happening, and sort of planned my research based on what I thought I knew at the time.
And then you just keep on unraveling more and more. And
totally.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The snowball effect, huh?
Right.
Yeah. What is the main difference between New Jersey and Wisconsin?
There's a lot of differences. Very different places. I don't know. I mean, New Jersey is like really, at least where I grew up in New Jersey, is very much defined by its proximity to New York City. It's the reason that there's like people populating those towns. Pretty much all my friends' parents moved to Ridgewood. Like a lot of my friends' parents, at least my parents moved to Ridgewood. Like my dad grew up in Brooklyn, and that's the case with a lot of these towns. It's like 70s, 80s, like white flight out of urban areas, and like the growth of these suburban areas, like Ridgewood. And so it's just geographically very much defined by that history from, I guess 1968, you could say, through the 90s or whatever. That sets up like a whole lot in terms of like the social dynamics of like a place like Ridgewood, New Jersey, in terms of socioeconomics and race and stuff like that, all of that stuff. And of course, I think that has like a big impact culturally in terms of like, even coming down to like what kind of music kids are getting into, or like how kids are playing music. In a town like Ridgewood, like for example, like me and my friends were privileged enough that like our parents could get us guitars or like a drum kit or whatever. We could start a band in their basement. So that's like, I would say, very typical of like the kind of experience of a town like Ridgewood in New Jersey. Not that there's not similar kinds of places in Wisconsin, but there isn't the same dynamic of there being like a massive metropolitan city that created through its sprawl, these like suburban type places. And I think actually, like, you know, for better or for worse, like a lot of people, ever since like I started playing music or like commercially releasing music, or like especially real estate, since they started commercially releasing music, people often are like, this music is very much associated in my mind with like the experience of being in like the New Jersey suburbs for one reason or another. And I think a lot of those reasons are valid. That there's like this musical connection to the suburbs of New Jersey with that kind of music, in a way that, like, you know, there might be some musicians from Wisconsin that like sort of have some stylistic connection to that kind of stuff, but there's something also very unique to that place about that kind of music that has been made there. So I don't know if that's I don't know if those are the biggest differences, but those are some differences that are like salient in my mind between those two places.
Right.
And then of course, you know, like a place like Madison, like the thing that defines Madison, or the two things that define Madison, are it's like a capital city and that it's a college town. So it feels like, I had no idea when I was growing up, like until I went to college, I had no idea what like being in a college town was like. I had no idea what like college students were like. It's crazy to me that like now I have a kid who's going to grow up like near a college and like have like a university campus as like part of his geography, and not have like, you know, the train to New York City as part of his geography. That like blows my mind that his life, his childhood is going to be so different than mine.
Yeah, it's going to differ. Yeah.
Yep.
But you stayed in Wisconsin since.
Yeah. I like it here. Yeah, I like it here. It's like it's affordable. Like after I finished college, like a ton of my friends were moving to Brooklyn. A lot of my friends, both like friends I made in college, as well as like all my friends from New Jersey. And of course, I got into grad school. I wanted to go to grad school. I wanted to go to this grad program. And like, you know, in the time from me starting my grad program to like, you know, the point at which it seemed like an end was in sight to the grad program, rent just became like completely unreasonable in a city like New York. It was just like, I can't even consider moving to that place now. It's just not even like worth considering. So Madison's actually like, compared to other Midwest cities, I would say like the rent is pretty high, but like compared to like Brooklyn, it's way more livable. Yeah. There's no way I can't imagine my wife and I like moving to an expensive like big city right now with like the money that we have. We wouldn't be able to do it. Yeah. We'd be living in a closet basically. Plus I like it here. I think it's got cool stuff going on.
Space.
Totally. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just really nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's not everybody jam-packed.
Yeah, definitely. And I like the snow. I think most people, the biggest complaint about Wisconsin that I hear is like the winters, and they're definitely pretty cold, but I kind of like snow.
So. That makes you thrive. That makes you want to make some more music.
Totally. And it feels really good when that weather is lifted at the end, you know. It makes you like appreciate the spring and summer a lot more, I think, when you have this like brutally cold period of the year.
Right.
I kind of like that.
Yeah. What was the idea of you releasing music under your own name? Where did that come about? If that was a cognitive thought, or did it just kind of happen?
Yeah. I don't really know why I started doing that. And sometimes I regret it actually, but
why is that?
Well, cause like, I feel like if I had like a moniker, a recording moniker, then like it's like, you know, if I apply for a job or something like that, someone Googles my name to find my like LinkedIn, they'd find all this music stuff. That's a weird thing. There's also a weird thing when like, you know, someone doesn't like my record on the internet and they're like, Julian Lynch sucks. But it's like, man, you don't even fucking know me. Like, you think my music sucks. That's fair, but you don't know me. So there would have been an advantage, I think, to having a recording moniker to like sort of separate this as being like, you know, this isn't my personal identity. This is a product that I make. Yeah. But I also, who gives a shit? It's fine. I think at the time, oops, sorry.
No, you're fine. I told you to start this thing over, man. So whenever you're ready.
Yeah.
All right. I liked it. It was kind of that was kind of an art piece in a way. It was like
yeah.
it wasn't connected to the computer.
It got connected to my computer. Yeah.
It sounded great on my end, man. I liked it.
That's funny. I didn't realize you could hear that too. That's my friend Corey was calling me. Sorry about that.
No, it's fine. What's up, Corey?
Yeah, shout out Corey. Shout out Corey Brecker.
Good guy.
Yeah, he's actually a great drummer. He's played music with me a bunch of times.
Really?
Cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Good guy. All right.
Yeah, very good guy.
Corey, I've heard a lot of good things.
Yeah.
You know what that kind of tells me that you wish that you didn't, or you had an alter ego, if you will, to go under. I think you got to change your real name. And so your real name now is your stage name, and then you gotta change your own name, and then your child will have your own name,
right?
The stage name. Yeah.
Oh, what a mess. Yeah,
that'd be good. I like it. Just mull it over.
Yeah. But actually, at the same time, I'm glad in some ways that I didn't like use a recording name, because like sometimes people that do that then like change it a bunch of times. I feel like I would have changed it like 3 times by now, and like it's probably better that it's just like my name.
Yeah. Has it ever been brought up while trying to look for work? Like, oh, I've listened to your music or whatever.
Yes. Yeah.
And how does that?
That's fine, I guess. Yeah. It's like, yeah, it's fine. It's a little bit weird, but it doesn't really happen that often. It's not the most like, it's not super recognizable. It's not like I'm selling hundreds of thousands of records or something like that. So it's pretty low. It's pretty low.
Interview, man. After this interview,
this might blow it up. Yeah,
you better be ready. Yeah, they're going for you. Quit the day job. That's it. We're done. Yeah, because you just won't have time to do anything else.
Yeah,
that's when creativity really flows out. Is when you have to do it no matter what, and you don't have a choice. I mean, forced art is the best kind of art. I've said it before. I'll say it again.
There's some truth to that.
There is some truth, but also it's like if it's free, if it's natural, there's also some truth to that. I don't know. Yeah. It depends. I guess it depends. Circumstantial.
Yeah, structure. There's like something to be said for having a little bit of structure and pressure, I guess.
Oh no, I meant like a back up against the wall. Like you have a whole album to do, and you had 3 days. So instrumental, vocals, and then mastering it. Yeah. What are some common topics that you talk about through making music that you look towards?
You mean like themes, like lyrical themes and stuff like that?
Sure. Or whatever that may be to you. What sparks creativity in music?
Yeah, I guess like I'm not like I like writing lyrics, and I do write lyrics, but I've never really considered myself like a lyric guy. I've never really considered myself like a songwriter. It's not like, usually if I write lyrics, it's because like, I wrote a really cool piece of music. I'd love to have like the sound of singing over it, and like I probably shouldn't sing gibberish, so I'll like write lyrics that kind of sound passable for me. So I think more often than not, like my inspiration is less like driven by like trying to express something verbally, or centered around like a lyrical theme, and more like inspiration from like either like pure sound, just like here's a sound that I just made by accident. I love the way it sounds. I'm really compelled by it, or like I love the way it sounds with this other sound, or with like a concept like of like, I'd love to do a song with I don't know, like 2 parts doing like a counterpoint kind of thing that sounds like some piece of music that I find inspirational or something like that. Usually I'm driven by music and sound more than like lyrical
topics
themes
or
concepts. Or wanting to write about like the environment or love or something like that. Which I'll do that, but like usually it's first and foremost, it's like I want to make something that's sonically compelling to me.
Because you're not a lyric man, and you said it yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I don't think that's the proper way to say that, but I like it. I'm not a lyric man.
It's all right. I honestly
maybe that's a new album. I'm not a lyric man, and then there's just no lyrics in it. Ooh, that'd be pretty good.
Do you like one of my favorite bands is Cocteau Twins? Do you like that band at all?
No, what is it? What was it again?
Cocteau Twins.
Cocteau Twins.
Cocteau Twins, yeah.
Where are they from?
UK. Okay. They're from Scotland. They like made a bunch of records in the 80s and like early 90s. They're like one of my favorite bands, and they have like their vocalist is like has a beautiful voice. She's like really good singer, but she doesn't sing anything intelligible. Like all of their words are like she like part of her process was she would collect like dictionaries from different languages and like find words where like when you pronounce them, she liked the sound of them. And she didn't give a shit about like what their meaning was. She would like string words that had like beautiful sounds together, or sometimes like complete like nonsense syllables. And it's like honestly, like when I listen to music like that, it's like as compelling, if not more compelling, than like listening to like I don't know, like Bob Dylan or something like that. I love Bob Dylan. I like the words he writes, but like the reason I got into Bob Dylan was mostly because of like the sound of the music he made, and then later I would like listen to the words and be like, oh, he's saying stuff that is like poignant, but
it relates to whatever he said. I mean, it's a cognitive, theme or working around.
Yeah.
Do you think that the woman remembers what she said on the recording and she plays it the same every time?
Yeah. If you watch live videos of them, like she like reproduces the same, like she has it written out like their lyrics, I'm sure, but they're not. It's not meaningful. There's no meaning. Right. Yeah. But it's beautiful. It's like awesome.
Yeah. Do you first of all, do you think that the fatherhood being coming into this is going to spark any new creative flows in music? Do you think that something will happen from this change of pace of life?
Maybe. Well, yeah, maybe that actually. So I think the change of pace of life part of it, I think definitely could lead to like, it's a lifestyle change. And it's like, and at this point now, like I've sort of made a decision that when I'm not touring with the band, I'm going to be like a full-time dad, take care of this kid at home. And that might lead to like having opportunities where like, since I'm working at home, like I can, have a guitar in my hand, like work out like some new riffs or something like that. But I think, I don't know if I'm like on the same level as like, so like Martin from Real Estate, I know like each time he's like had another kid, he's got 3 kids. And each time he's had a kid, he like writes a ton of songs, writes, lyrics about that process, about his feelings about it. And that's like, it seems like that's an important way for him to express his feelings about being a father, is through like lyrics. I don't really know if that's like, like I said, I'm not like a lyric guy. That's not really my primary vehicle for expression. So I don't really see myself like writing songs necessarily about like, the miracle of like life or about like, or, whatever the youthful existence that I'm now exposed to or something like that. But I can see like the kind of thing where even like yesterday or last night, I was like playing my guitar, which I hadn't really done around this kid yet, because I wasn't sure if it would like, if he would be bothered by it and start screaming, but he kind of seemed to enjoy it. So I think I would do that more, actually. I think if he like finds it soothing, like that's a good opportunity for both of us to like, for me to like work on new stuff and, be in a different headspace while doing it. Cause like, I'm not used to working on new material like at 4 a.m. when I can't sleep because there's a baby crying. So that I think could definitely spur some new creativity for me.
Yeah, which is good.
It's
a new avenue.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yeah.
And why even have a kid if they're not going to help you out with music? I mean, that's what I've been saying for years. Yeah, it's like,
I
hey,
do agree.
Pull your weight. I'm trying to play these shows to pay for the place that you live and everything that you do. So why don't you help return the favor in helping me out with these topics?
He's got to learn how to be an engineer. Start engineering my records.
Yeah, it's time, right? I mean, how old is this kid? It's 9 months, you said?
4 weeks.
4 weeks, 9 months, same thing. It's time either way.
I agree.
4 days, 4 weeks, 4 months.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome, man. That is really cool.
Yeah.
Good, congrats. Yeah.
Thank you, dude. Thanks.
A COVID child.
Yeah. It seems like one of many. It seems like there's a wave of that.
There's like at least 3 I've heard of. It's just on my radar. Not into the whole parental thing, but
I can probably add like another 5 to that. So
okay,
that's enough to
it's like 9 kids altogether in total.
Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Good for them. If that's not your target audience, then what is? I mean, you got to play for the youth.
True. That is true.
So I mean, constantly be evolving, and why not have them as a part of it?
Right.
How old are you?
36.
Okay, so that's young. Why do you think so many people are waiting so long to get married and have children nowadays, as opposed to say years ago?
I don't know. I'm the same age that my dad was when my parents had me. And my mom was actually older than me, but it was weird at the time because my parents, it always felt like my parents were a little bit older than like other kids' parents. But I think, like.
And you felt that when you were a kid, you're like, okay.
Yeah, totally. But I don't think that this kid won't feel that. I don't think, because our friends around town, like a lot of them are older than us and have just had kids. So I think it'll be actually really normal for this kid to have friends whose parents were like 39 or whatever when they're
not going to have the train. I mean, your kid right now is just not going to have the same upbringing you did.
Missing out on a lot. Yeah.
Total other end of the coin.
Yeah.
But sorry, go ahead.
I don't know, but I think there's a lot of reasons for that. I think probably the biggest one that people would point to is like financial instability for our generation. How old are you?
I'm 21.
21.
Yeah.
So you might be as fucked or more fucked than people that are in their 30s.
Because of you. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Because of capitalism. Let's put it that way.
It's just because of you. It solely rests on you.
I'll take part of the responsibility.
You didn't pay the rent in Brooklyn. You moved to Wisconsin. No, this is all on you.
It's because I'm not. Yeah,
the burden's on your shoulders. For my age bracket.
I'm not putting enough back into the economy. Yeah.
Just you though. Nobody else. It's just you that you're not doing it.
It is my fault. Yeah.
It's an issue.
I think that's probably a big part of it is like people, when people are like, when I was 29 years old or something, there's no way in hell I could have been convinced to have a child. I would not have felt ready, like emotionally or financially for that. I couldn't I wasn't going to like raise a kid in like a, like group house that I was living in or something. So I just think it just like, takes people longer to feel like financially secure now, if they ever even can. And that's probably part of it, but also there's probably like, people, there's more emphasis placed on accomplishing personal and professional goals in your 20s and your 30s. It's harder to accomplish a lot of those things in your 20s and 30s now, so it takes you longer to do it.
Which pushes everything else back.
Yeah, it pushes everything else back. Yeah, I don't know. Just kind of, it is what it is. I don't think it's like a bad thing necessarily, but yeah, it does seem like that's a generational thing. It's like people having kids older.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as you have them, it's fine, right?
Yeah. Well, you can. Doesn't matter.
No, you have to have them, and you said that. You said that before we started. You said you have to have kids, or else what are you doing? Absolute. It's a needed thing. So who are some of your current influences in music, or what are you listening to right now in terms of contemporary artists?
Contemporary artists, I would say, well, a lot of stuff I listen to is like older stuff, actually, like older records. I do listen to like some contemporary stuff, but like a lot of the records that I listen to like very regularly are like, you know, I always return to uh like a lot of like guitar players that inspire me. There's like a experimental guitar player named Henry Kaiser whose like records I really love. He still makes music, actually, so you could say he's contemporary. Actually, a lot of these people are still contemporary because they're still making music. Um, do you know Robert Fripp, like King Crimson?
King Crimson, yes, but not Robert Frick. Did you say
Fripp, Fripp.
okay, Frick?
Like he's fucking awesome guitar player that I'm very inspired by. Still technically making music. He has like a YouTube channel with his wife where they do like weekly music videos that are kind of funny.
Awesome.
Especially like during COVID, they were doing a lot of that stuff. I don't know. I've been listening to like a lot of like what else? Like Windham Hill, like new age records, like William Ackerman, like type, like a new age guitar shit, Alex DeGrassi, that kind of stuff. Actually, like speaking of records that kind of remind me of that, my friend Cole Furlow, he's like a guitar player, and I went on tour with him right before the pandemic, actually, and he was doing like a good guitar duo that kind of reminded me of like kind of like fingerstyle guitar players like that, kind of like, you know, really like mellow like acoustic guitar stuff. But he has a new record coming out that is pretty sick. So that's one example of like highly contemporary.
Yeah,
dude. Yeah, he's probably younger than me. That's like a record to look out for.
For sure.
Yeah, you know, a bunch of different stuff, I guess.
Pulling from a bunch of different places, and of course, Minor Threat.
Dude, forever. I love Minor Threat. Yeah, I got to. So one of my favorite bands of all time is Wire, the punk band Wire, and I got to open for them on a tour in 2013 or 2014, and we played in Washington D.C. And I was really psyched because like after my set, I went backstage and Ian MacKaye was hanging out there with like the Wire guys. I was like, oh shit, like really very honored to meet you. And he actually like, he was like, your set reminded me of Robert Fripp. I was like, damn, that's a huge compliment, dude. That like makes me very happy. So that was very cool. I'll still jam Minor Threat. I'll still jam like Void. That was one of my favorite Discord bands for sure. Love that band. Like the like Faith Void split. Very, very sick material.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I love like 80s hardcore. I love like also like 80s like thrash, death metal stuff, like heavier stuff. I don't really have a lot of like creative outlets of my own where that inspiration comes through exactly, but I like a lot of heavier music.
You appreciate the sound.
Yeah, there's actually like, I think a lot of the like some of the cooler contemporary music being made now is like heavier stuff. There's like a record, I don't know if it was 2020 or 2019, this band Blood Incantation. There's like a death metal record that was really good.
Blood Incantation?
Yeah.
Okay.
Very, very sick death
Sounds
metal
wholesome.
record.
Sounds wholesome.
Yeah.
My mom will sure like that.
Yeah, it's a good music to listen to with your parents, your grandparents. Yeah.
It's fun for everybody.
Yeah.
So you said that you joined real estate 2016 or 2017?
2016. Yep.
And but you knew Courtney and Bleecker and all those guys from when you were a kid, right?
Yep, totally. We played music together since I was in 9th grade, maybe 10th grade.
And when did your guys' paths cross again later on in time, 2016 2017ish? When did you guys kind of merge again?
We never really lost touch exactly. I would see them like, you know, whenever whenever I would be back on the East Coast, Bleecker lives in California now, but he was living in New York up until, I don't know, 2017, somewhere around there. So anytime I would be back, like visiting my family or anything, I would go and hang out with those guys. And then anytime Real Estate was on tour, I'd go check them out. And I guess like the reconnection that led to me joining the band was when Martin did a solo tour in early 2016, and he played a show in Madison. And that's when he like kind of asked me to start playing with the band. And it was probably a month or two later when I first went out to the East Coast and did some rehearsals with them. And then a couple months after that, I played my first show with them.
How did the first show go? What was the audience reaction to it?
I don't remember what the audience reaction to it was, but it was terrible. I played terribly. It was very nerve wracking because like I'd played in front of big audiences before, but I'd played as like an opening act, and so like to a large extent the audience was like indifferent to me anyways. But This is the first time where I was playing to an audience where they were there to see this music. They were really familiar with this music, and they were very ready to scrutinize like the new guy in the band. So I was like nervous as hell. I like compensated for that by like drinking a bunch, which like, I learned that like after a year and a half of playing with the band. Was like, I can't like, before that point, whenever like I would play shows, I would like have a couple drinks at least before playing to loosen up a little bit. And that kind of worked for like my music, because a lot of my music like playing on stage was way more loose and improvisational anyways. But like with this, I realized like musically it didn't work as well, like getting a little buzz on, and also it wasn't sustainable, like because I was playing so many shows, like getting drunk every single day for like weeks on end was not going to work as a lifestyle for me. So I worked that out of my system.
And Ian Mackay was there. He's like, "What the fuck are you doing, man?"
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I thought I had his voice in my mind.
Like, dude, I was gonna sign a Discord today, man.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, that's the first shows I did with Real Estate. Like the other thing was like, I didn't know exactly how to approach being in the band. It's still something I'm still figuring out, because I don't want, and I especially then didn't want to just like have my sound just ape what was already happening in the band. It didn't seem like the band that wasn't the place where the band was in when I joined. It seemed like they were trying to do something different, and also just didn't like make sense if like I'm my own person. I'm not going to like try to mimic the guitar style of the person that played before me. So I was trying to like work out like, okay, well, what kind of like guitar sound would work in this band that is like a little bit different, which was like a learning process, because I wasn't, it was a new experience playing with those guys in that particular formation with those four people, and with their stage setup and everything. So it took me a while to be like, okay, yeah, this is how like the guitar can sound in the band, and it can kind of work, and it works with like the new material they're writing. But early on, it was like, it was a bumpy start, I would say. It wasn't like, I jumped right in and everything was like perfect. Not to mention the band, when I played the first shows with Real Estate, like I don't even think I thought about this at the time, but the band, they were probably really rusty too, because like Real Estate hadn't been playing shows in a few years, I think, leading up to that. So
years, multiple years. Wow.
Yeah, I think probably like a couple years. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I think it'd been like a couple years since the band really did any serious touring. So, by that point, it was all like we were playing new material. We were like, it was the first time any of that material was being played live. Shows were probably not our finest shows, but it's okay.
So when did you finally feel like you got the hang of it and you really felt comfortable?
I'd say like
not being the opening, being the main act.
I actually, ironically, I think I started really settling into things like right before the pandemic hit.
Of course.
Yeah, of course. We're like, I was like, damn, I'm so ready right now to like go on tour for the next year, because like we like the bit like honestly, I say this, I think I have now some distance from it since it's been like over a year. But like the way we were sounding in like say December, January, I guess a little bit into February of 2020, was like the best the band had sounded on stage since I joined. We were just like we'd really locked in like a way to play with each other, like what like how our instruments work together, and like our stage sound was like just really tight. Who knows what it's going to be like now, because we haven't played together in so long. But like pandemic hit, and it you know
Right.
you know the rest.
Yep. Yeah, and as we all unfortunately do. But do you feel like that's a common consensus throughout the whole band, that you guys sounded the best leading up to not being able to play?
I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but
Do it, Martin.
I think they would agree. I honestly do think they would probably agree with me that it reached a really like really nice sounding place where like we were definitely ready for the road when it all went down. So yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that was because you again really did a lot of damage.
The pandemic
Julian,
was my fault.
Yep.
I brought it over.
Yes.
I was
you made it
zero. I manufactured it. Yeah, I manufactured the virus.
Yeah. And you're not simulating the economy enough, and you didn't move to Brooklyn. And I mean, you're the reason why college is so expensive as well.
I needed to hear this. It's like
it's time. Somebody has to say it. I'll say it.
Your honesty is refreshing, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, everyone's yes men to you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I'm safely in California until tonight, when I don't know, you're gonna send some people over, but that's fine. Until right now. As of right now. Yeah. Why do you think so many people are attracted to the music that you make?
I don't know if that's the case.
Okay.
I think a lot of people.
Why do people hate you then? How about that? Is that a better question?
I'm somewhere in between. I think so. I think like a lot of people here. Let me answer it this way.
Okay.
Because I walked into with real estate. They already had a fan base. They already had like well-respected records that were much more successful than any of the records I'd put out as a solo artist. And they'd been touring on them for like 10 years. I wasn't doing any touring to like promote my records because I was in grad school. So they put in a lot of hard work to achieve that I can't take credit for. And I think also, they made fucking good records. I love like Days. It's a great record. I feel comfortable saying that. I'm not like boasting because I didn't play on Days. So like I think that's a really cool record that those guys made.
So everything leading up until you coming in is the best.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what you're saying.
No, I would say
I would. Not only did you manufacture the coronavirus, and that you're the reason why we're in debt and everything, but you also are a liar. Okay.
I think there are people who would make that argument, but I actually like, I'd say like Days and the last two releases Real Estate had were The Main Thing and this EP Half a Human, which I don't really see those, even though they are technically two different releases. I kind of see them as being the same thing because they're kind of from the same sessions. Those are, I'd say like Main Thing, Half a Human, and Days are my favorite Real Estate records. If I had to, as a listener, if I had to like listen to them, if I had to like take one to my desert island or whatever, probably be those two. I like those a lot.
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah, I think we made. I wish we got to tour on those. I wish we had that opportunity because there was some like cool material on those releases. But
everyone's looking forward to hearing it when it comes back. So
yeah, I guess so. I don't know. It's kind of weird to basically like tour on old material that is like, it's old news to everybody, you know.
Yeah, but that's the thing though. Is it old news because you weren't able to tour it, and that's the
Yeah.
newest thing that is out, or
Oh, yeah, but also
new
like
things are out.
we're sick of it now. It's old to us. I think we'd rather like probably just write new jams, like work out some new stuff and play that
Just play
live.
covers. Just play Fugazi covers. That's an idea nobody's ever done.
I'm completely into that. It would be hard to convince the other guys, but
I think it would sound great.
but I'd be sold on that for sure. Yeah.
Good. You'd buy a ticket.
Yes, I would. Yeah.
If you as a viewer, somebody was like, "Hey,
but I wouldn't
real
pay more than
estate,"
$5 for it.
that's
Fugazi style. You
that's
can't.
illegal. That's legally you could not
Exactly.
do that. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but it's funny, but good for them for doing it, and good for them for sticking by that. I mean,
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, like, you know, no wonder like I looked up to people like that when I was in high school, that like the, you know, it's an amazing thing when you're a kid and you're getting turned away from shows because you're not old enough, or you don't have enough money to go see the shows you want, to like have people that are playing cheap shows that are very cool, that like will let anyone in, that are
Yeah.
inclusive. That's important.
Yeah, it is, and it's important to do what you can for your local music community, and don't just move to Brooklyn from Ridgewood and make your own
Yes.
scene. Make
Yes,
stuff.
I agree.
Which is not a new concept. Ian MacKay did say this, and I
Yeah,
agree with it.
I totally agree with
We
that.
don't see
Yeah.
eye to eye on a lot of things, but that is one
No.
thing that, you know.
Yeah, no,
But
the big things, the major ethical points, I would say, I'm in
right,
alignment with.
right. In a
Mm,
in a
yeah,
in a white t-shirt in Vans. It seems like that's always what he wore. But you know,
yeah.
that's to your own make it a black shirt and Converse, whatever you want to do. It's open-ended, you know.
So yeah, there's a little bit of you can yeah. There's room for creativity and
Right,
expression
right,
there.
right. I mean, it's narrow, but you can do what you will
Right.
in your
Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
Anyways, I like to wrap this up with a promo. So you can
Sure.
find and buy Julian's music at julianlynch.bandcamp.com. Is that the best way people can support you in your
Totally.
solo music?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the best
Definitely,
place.
man. Definitely. Yeah.
Good deal. And you can
Thanks,
also
man.
find Real Estate's music at realestatetheband.com. And what do you got any shows coming up? I know it's kind of coming back, and this will be out
Yeah.
this
Hang on
Friday.
one second. Let me see if it's. I'm gonna Google it real quick to see
Please.
if it's even announced.
And we're just gonna keep
'cause if
this
it's
dead air.
announced, yeah. Hold
Yeah.
on one second. Let's see if the
It's
lineup is announced here. Yeah, it's announced. Okay, Ohana Festival, September 26th, my birthday, September 26th. Ohana Festival, that is in, do you know where Dana Point is? Dana
yeah,
Point?
that's my neck of the woods.
Is
I
it really?
mean, I'm more east. I'm inland.
Okay.
But yes, it's in Orange County. I thought that was wow. Okay, so is it just you? It's not
No,
real
man,
estate.
it's real estate. It's a real estate show.
Well, shit. I was gonna tell the people to go to that, but you know. No,
Ohana
it's
Festival.
it's on the beach.
The headliner is Pearl Jam.
Well, if that suits you guys, you listeners, I'm gonna no, that's great. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Definitely cool. Dana
Yeah.
Point, great place. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's killer. And that's September what again?
September 26th.
September 26th. Your birthday, man.
My birthday.
Well,
yeah, so come by, wish me a happy birthday. There's going to be other shows, real estate shows, for sure, but I don't think those are announced yet. But I'd say keep an eye out for shows later in 2021.
And you can keep up to date on real estate on your Instagram, right? It's like Real Estate the Band.
Yeah, that's probably
where you post them, and the website will also have it for sure.
Yep, totally. Yeah.
Awesome, Julian.
Yeah,
thank you so much, man. I appreciate
it. Thank you. Thanks, Jacob.
Is there anything else you need to promote?
I was gonna plug a thing. You know what? I am gonna plug this thing because I think it's okay to plug it. So I just did music for a podcast. Hopefully they use it. Otherwise, I'm but it's in writing. I got paid for it and everything. But I just did music for a podcast called The Door. So check that out. I think it's going to be coming out also in September. And I basically recorded like an album's worth of new material, of like instrumental material for this podcast. I'm very psyched on it. It's going to be a really cool podcast. So that's what I would plug on my end.
Well, I don't plug other people's podcasts on my podcast. That's going to be edited out. No, definitely, yeah. No, definitely check it out. It's the Door, right?
The Door, yeah.
The Door. Okay, cool. Yeah, cool. I mean, I'm assuming it's more professional than this. And if you got any spare B-sides, you saw how I started this shit. So,
dude, anytime you want.
I'm kidding, man. Dude, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. I'll talk to you in a second. I'm gonna stop recording this.
Okay, thanks so much.